Okay, well, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Fritz and I am the wise guy. So in this channel, we take a look at the criminal activity that's happening here in Las Vegas. And the purpose to doing that is we look over crimes to determine how we can avoid becoming the victim ourselves. And then the second one is we look at the crimes and we see how, we could possibly be in that situation where we end up committing crimes ourselves. Take, for example, our anger. The anger we feel when we're driving along the street and somebody starts to cut us off. Yeah, that can definitely lead to something very, very bad if we're not aware of the situation. So the crime rates are rising and people are feeling a certain way. There are those who are committing the crimes and they seem to be emboldened. And then there are those who are experiencing crimes happening around them and they feel very terrible. So the question in this video is, how do I combat fear and helplessness? The feelings that I have when I'm looking at my things, or I'm looking at my family or myself, and I don't want to become a number within the crimes that are happening here in Las Vegas. So again, the question to this video is, how do I combat fear and helplessness? I want to address two types of fears. The first fear is the fear that brings about wisdom. The Bible calls it the fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. Let me give you an example of that. So when we tell a child, don't touch the hot stove, we know it's the right thing to do, but the child doesn't know. So when the child touches the hot stove, they get burned and they realize quickly that the next time this happens and the stove is hot, so they became more wise. And that's the situation with all of us. We become more wise when we understand, certain consequences that can happen. Much like if we don't obey the Lord and we're committing crimes, there's consequences. There is consequences. And the second fear. So the second fear deals with what we're actually feeling. The word for that is paralyzed. You feel paralyzed. And so the example that I have for that is a story in the Bible. This story is where you have two armies and they're on the battlefield supposedly fighting. And one of the armies has a really giant. His name is Goliath. And you're familiar with Goliath? Yeah, you know the story. So Goliath is there on a battlefield, and it's just himself on a battlefield taunting the armies of Israel. And he says it, come on, send me out someone, armies of Israel. So just what happened, David is coming to give his brothers some food, and he overhears the taunting of the enemy, and he realizes, whoa, what's going on? See, the thing that the enemy was doing was he's getting them to focus on themselves. And when we focus on ourselves, we lose the impact of what God can do through us. We need to be focusing on God. And that's what David brought when he came to the battlefield. David came from his own battlefield, where he would fight lions and bears in order to save his sheep from being eaten. So although he didn't fight in the battlefield that they were in right now, he knew what war is like. He knew what the consequences, what the stakes are. And the men of Israel were in that paralyzed feeling. And I can imagine their thoughts like, I know I'm going to die if I go out there. And if I die, or if we lose this war, it could mean our loss of our family. It could mean the loss of all our belongings. So the stakes was very high, because why? If they lose this battle, they become slaves to the other armies. So David comes out and he's speaking like, we're not the armies of the Lord. We're not the armies of Israel alone. We're the armies of the living God. And soon, he's on the battlefield fighting this giant, and he defeats the giant. And David ends up with the wealth and the marriage that came along with defeating the giant. So just think about that when you're feeling this way. That means there's a battle to be fought. And that means there's a certain mindset that you have to have. So David, he had the mindset of the fear of the Lord. He put his fear in the Lord, not the fear in the giant. But he did put something in the giant. He put his faith in the Lord against the giant, and he went out there and defeated the giant. That's what I want to encourage you guys to do with that story, is to have the faith in the right place, which is against the lies of the enemy that was forcing them to feel fear. Have the faith to fight against that, and put your fear in the Lord God Almighty. So I just wanted to encourage you guys. Again, my name is Fritz, and I am the wise guy, encouraging you that if you need wisdom, all you have to do is ask, and he will give it to you. God will give it to you. All right, until next time, peace. God bless you.